Hi, everybody. We are live.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today. What a pleasure. Welcome to a new conversation for Attitudable Podcast, sponsored by Lift Value Translations and Consulting. I am really thrilled to be here today at my home office with the one and only Lee Densmer. Welcome, Lee, to this conversation. As many of you may already know her, she is a content marketer, entrepreneur, and the owner of Globia Content Marketing that she founded in March 2023. Her mission, as she describes herself, is to help people keep it simple so that they can execute and keep it organized and have a fun and not a stressful experience. Her education is in writing, teaching, and linguistics. She has more than 25 years of experience in the language services industry, which is, as you all know, about translation, interpretation, and technology, like machine and AI translation. She knows our industry very, very well, and I would like her to briefly let us know what is who is Lee Densmer. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you so much. That was a pretty good intro. Yes, I love the industry. I've been in the industry all these years, 25 years, and worked at some of the big names. My my love is travel and languages and culture. So that, we all share that. Many of us share that love. And those led me right into a career in the translation industry. And I've done client services, I've been a solutions architect, and most recently I've been a marketer, which really is where everything clicked for me and where I realized I have passion. So that is, I think, what we're talking about today is marketing.
Yes, Lee.
Mhm.
And you are, as you said, a content marketer.
Right.
Would you please like explain in, as you said, simple words, what is or what does it involve to be a content marketer?
Absolutely. It is the division or the specialization within marketing of content. By that, I mean your blog, your social media, any ebooks, web content, any words that you write to attract your customer to you. So it's a very strategic approach to bringing in customers with useful, helpful, branded, differentiated content.
Exactly. And it's a specific role different than a copywriter or other, let's say, marketing specialist working in the marketing department of a company.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So I have three writers on my team, three copywriters who actually craft the words. But I'm the one who builds the plan for the messaging, how all the content pieces go together, how to distribute that content, how to put it out into the market, because there's no use if you write it and nobody sees it, how to promote that content, and how to make sure you're repeating your message into the market. So my writers help me execute that, and they all know the industry, so they're very good. I mean, good writers are a must. They're a crucial part of a good content marketing program, and they know the industry. And like I said, they execute what I plan regarding the messaging and the topics that are chosen by the company.
That's essential, yes, to be like a specialist and to know the market
That's a
very,
really good
very
question.
well.
That's controversial. Many people think a good copywriter can learn any market, and that the most important thing is writing chops and interviewing chops. But in our industry, it's really hard to get the content right if you don't know the industry. And you don't need 25 years experience, but you need knowledge of localization, transcreation, going global, all the things related to our market, technology. I mean, our technology and our industry is very specific and tricky and technical. So that knowledge helps. I think it's critical. All my writers have local expertise.
Great. And in your website, Lee, you affirm that localization is
Mhm.
about customizing everything for your target market, yes,
Right.
and making sure that it meets the needs of the customer, doesn't offend them,
Right.
and reaches them emotionally, so that, of course, they want to do business with your brand. And
Mhm.
this is rooted in a thorough understanding, as you said, of local customer needs,
Right.
interests, and preferences.
Mhm.
But so it is worth hiring a professional. But can you share one of perhaps your sales tactics or
Mhm.
techniques to introduce these localization phases to our potential customers? Because in my case, sometimes I find it hard to make my clients aware of the benefits, the real benefits
Right.
of not only translating, but localizing their content to the market that they want to reach.
Right. Translation only is a big mistake, and you can talk to your customers about why that's a mistake. A literal word for word translation gets the language right, perhaps, but it can't capture the nuance. It can't capture the brand. It's the same reason why AI translation isn't amazing. It gets the words right, but it doesn't get the context, the big picture, the nuance right. So, what's important is that something like there was a CSA study 65% of buyers prefer to buy in their own language. I would take it further
Mhm.
than that. The language is great, but they prefer to buy in the context of their own culture. What are their buying preferences? Where do they get their information? What social media channels do they use? And when you put all of that together, including the right language, that's when customers are going to come to you and buy more and be more satisfied and be more connected to your brand. So, yeah, word for word is the place to start, as long as you don't get translation mess ups. And I can give some funny examples of translation faux
Yes,
pas.
please.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a couple really good ones. There's an airline in, I think, Europe. I can't remember, named Braniff. Maybe some of you have flown that airlines, but they have leather seats. Awesome. And that's they sell, this is our differentiator. We have leather seats. And so they translated that into Spanish, and it translated from fly in leather to fly naked. Well, that's kind of a different travel
Oh
experience.
my God. They went bankrupt. After
Yeah,
that, they
no,
lost
they
all
got
their
a ton
clients.
of business from a special group of people. No, I don't know, but that's
Wow.
mhm, of a
That's
slogan.
something that,
Mhm,
yes. And sometimes we are surprised. Why
mhm.
didn't they ask an expert, a professional, just before launching the campaign, or
You
like
wonder, mhm. Yeah, you
a
wonder.
final QA step?
It just was a mishap. There wasn't the understanding that changing the words wasn't wasn't all of it. Another one that maybe Americans who are listening have heard of is the Got Milk campaign. Everybody, all Americans remember, I think 20 years ago, the Got Milk campaign with like the people with the white mustaches. Well, an ad agency in San Francisco took the challenge of localization, and they translated Got Milk to Are You Lactating?
Wow,
So
no.
they offended the market. They got it completely wrong, and they failed to launch in Latin America because they simply took the words and translated them. I think it was tienes leche, which if you're a Spanish speaker, you can maybe affirm that that's not exactly how you would say it.
Of course not. And then there's no way to repair that. I mean, how do you go and
Mhm.
you begin? They couldn't
Right.
arrive here. I mean, the Latin American market has to be like deleted from there because how do you make up for that?
So that's how you would position it to your customers, is that these mistakes can destroy your brand in a market. They can
Yeah.
prohibit you from entering that market. There are worse mistakes than that. That one's just funny, but
Mm.
yeah, you can destroy your brand in the market if you don't approach this with a cultural and human perspective. We're not talking about linguistics. We're not talking about the simple act of translation. We're talking about a cultural understanding so that you can convert your brand and your campaign for another market.
Do you agree that language and culture are very closely connected? I mean, they cannot go apart.
That's a super interesting topic, actually, for me. I studied linguistics, and yes, culture influences language, the way you express concepts, the way you think about concepts. So, culture causes changes to the language. Language can influence culture in turn. It's especially interesting when you go to places where languages are mixed. You know, American Hispanics have a blended culture,
Mm.
American culture and a Hispanic, Latin American, Mexican culture specifically. And the culture changes based on the way the languages mix. So the study of how language influences culture and the reverse is fascinating.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's true. And you also said that the why, I mean, do you think that the universal or global Spanish, because you have lived in different Spanish speaking countries,
Yeah,
and you know that this Spanish does not exist. But
right.
how can we explain that to our clients that sometimes, as regards investment, cost, and times, they want like a universal, a neutral, a global Spanish?
Yeah, I come up against this all the time. So people need to understand that there's 26 Spanish speaking markets and that the Spanish is literally different in each of those markets. Travelers who've been to Mexico and Spain know this. The accent is different, the vocabulary is different. You can choose a neutral Spanish to enter those markets. And that's a version of Spanish. It's the one you learn in high school, right? It's the version of Spanish with a consistent vocabulary, a standard pronunciation that everyone will understand in your market. All Spanish speakers will understand this version of written Spanish, but it's not specific. It's not adapted for the culture. It's not Cuban Spanish or Spain Spanish or Argentinian Spanish. They're all different. So nobody has the money to create content for all 26 markets. Nobody has that. But you could do Peninsular Spanish, South American Spanish, Mexican Spanish. You can group kind of the markets and do Spanish that is better than this global kind of mythical mythical Spanish.
Yes,
It's the ninth grade Spanish that we all learn, so you can talk say
yes.
restaurant. Mhm.
As a translator, that's I say I translate into Spanish Latin America or Spanish
Okay.
US, but
Mhm.
not Spanish Spain because I have never lived there. I know of course it's Spanish, but it's different. It's another.
So another thing I read recently, Dolores, that was interesting is that
Mm,
AI LLMs can convert Spanish for one
mm,
region to Spanish for another region that it's good at that. It's not as good at generating translations like from scratch as it is at adapting. So that's a really interesting use case for a large language model, the adaptation from one to another. And at least you could learn, you could see the differences. You could put your US Spanish into a large language model and see what it does when you say, please convert this to Spain Spanish. I think that's super interesting use case for a large language model.
you're right.
Mhm.
Yes, we have to embrace and adapt all that new
Mhm.
technology
Right. Yeah.
and help, let's say, assistant to our daily work.
Mhm.
And what do you mean by a content audit that
Mhm.
sometimes you talk about? And if you can also give us a real life example of what
Mhm.
is that audit?
Yeah, you bet. When I start working with clients, everybody already has content. Everybody has dozens of blogs and many ebooks and so on. So when you get started, you would review what you've got. You can take a download from your HubSpot instance and see all the blog titles that you have. So you need to take a look at that and take a look at what topics you've covered, what stages of the funnel you've covered. So is it largely top of the funnel awareness type of content? So you need to look at the buyers you've written for and the industries you've written for, because many companies have multiple industries, right? So you take a look at that all, and I have a spreadsheet, and you identify your gaps. And then you know what you're missing and what you need to create. You can also come to know what you should update and use again. A lot of companies don't use their content. They don't refresh it and use it again and update it. It's a lot easier to update a 2-year-old piece than it is to start over. So that assessment of what you've got is really important before you can create a strategy moving forward.
And that is also recommendable and you advise to do before
Mhm.
a new plan.
Absolutely. Hmm. And people find they have
So,
more useful stuff than they thought they did. Or they think we've had a misfire here. Our strategy has been terrible and we need to start over.
yes, you are right.
Yeah.
And you are also a big advocate of repurposing content, right?
Yes.
What do you think that people or clients or companies in general don't apply that? No, they do it and it's done and finished and never.
Hmm.
And why do you think it's good to repurpose?
So because there's a higher ROI on it, you're not spending as much time, you're not coming up with new
Mm.
ideas. You are taking good old content. You're taking good old content and turning it into 10 social posts, or turning it into a video, or updating it and promoting it again. So it's like the American Indians do with the buffalo. They use every single piece of it, right? Very little waste. So this is a no waste approach to content marketing. Just use something over and over again. I think people resist or maybe have a hard time with this because they feel like they're putting the same content and that it's boring for readers to do the same, say the same thing. The truth is that your audience does not see your message every time you put it out. They might see 10% of your messaging. So it is a fallacy to think it's boring. Everybody has seen it. It's just not the case. So, for example, on
Mm.
social, if you're posting on social media, you do not need new content every day. You can use content that's 6 weeks or 3 months old again, because only 10% of your audience has seen it and just nobody remembers. So, there's literally no reason to not take advantage of your existing content. Fix it, repost
Yes.
it, use it again. Mhm.
That's also another big issue, yes, the attention, because sometimes you spend a lot of time preparing a piece of content and then it's perhaps not seen by the amount of people that you would like to or that you think. So this is also a big challenge for all of us, right?
A lot of people get super frustrated that they create an awesome piece of content. They believe in it. They spent a ton of time on it. And then that content doesn't generate interest. But the problem is usually that they haven't distributed broadly enough and they haven't done it multiple times. So
Mm.
putting a link to your blog post on LinkedIn is 10% or 5% of what you should do. You should keep talking about it, keep posting bits and pieces of it, promote it in your newsletter, all the things, optimize it for SEO. So there's all these channels that you should use to bring people to your content. But often people only use one channel and they only do it once and then they get frustrated.
You're right. So we have to be like broaden our strategy.
Broadcast.
And
Mhm.
of course, broad, exactly. And also, do you recommend or to have like a crafted style guide when you do that audit, the content audit for your clients?
Mhm.
Do you think they are necessary or good for a business, a marketing business?
I do. A lot of companies kind of skip the style guide and just tell their writers to write in a friendly tone or in a confident tone. But a style guide is much more than that. I also have a template for that on my website. A style guide covers
Mhm.
your messaging, the words you do want to use, the words you don't want to use. It should include your positioning. It should include descriptions about your tone of voice and examples, because nobody understands what you mean if you say write in a bold tone of voice. It's not specific enough. So it is the way that you can make sure everybody writes with your personality. And it is the way you can write differentiated content that sounds different than everybody else's. So yes, a style guide is super important, and they don't take long to create. They take 8 hours to create, and then you
And
teach.
when,
Go ahead.
sorry,
Mm.
it's only once that you craft and you prepare it and it's done. I mean, you don't have to continue working on it. I mean,
Not really. You might want to review it and edit it every year. There may be some new
mm,
phrases to include or some new phrases to never use over time. Um, and then the point I was going to make is that you don't just create a style guide and email it to people. You have a session where you teach people how to use this
mm,
document. And I fully believe that if you're going to put strategy in place, it's useless unless you teach people how to use it.
mm.
Workshop, a live session to help people understand how to use that strategy.
And you are a teacher at heart, so you love it.
That's probably why I believe so deeply in it, is that I like to teach.
Mhm.
And I think it's part of running a content marketing team is building the strategy and then teaching people how to use it. That's when,
Exactly.
yeah, that's when people are really empowered to implement that strategy.
Exactly. And sometimes it's easy when you read it or you think you understand it all. And then when you want to apply, you say, oh, how can I do it?
Yeah, it's the how. You said it, Dolores. It's the how. So people can understand a strategy document, but then it rarely makes the jump from reading the strategy to implement it. It's almost, there's like a chasm there. Great document, but there's a huge crevice between reading it, understanding it, and implementing it.
Exactly. Great. And I have this book that you also recommend all the time, the one from Natalie Kelly, Take Your Company Global.
Yes,
And do you think this is a good book to start reading if you want to not work on content marketing, but perhaps have an idea of what it takes to really work in this field?
definitely a key book to read if you want to work in the field of helping companies take their product and content global. For sure, it's a must read. And I can recommend books for people to read to enter into content marketing. If people want to direct message me, that's great. Mhm.
Yes. Can you recommend us any other book, just if you remember one,
Sure.
apart from?
For content marketing, I love Content Chemistry. It's written by
Mm.
Andy Crestodina. He's a legend. Follow him and read his content. He writes a great newsletter too. So that's Content
Mm.
Chemistry. That's kind of like the Bible of content marketing.
Ah, great.
Yeah,
Is he American? Yes.
yeah. He is American.
Ah, great.
Yeah,
I think you are the founders, no? Everything is created there and then it goes all
trickles
over the world.
down. Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, great. Sorry. And Lee, do you or what's your thoughts? Do you feel optimistic about the future of content marketing with all the hype? We are not going to talk
Okay.
about AI, but what's
Really,
your thoughts about the
I'm
future of this?
really optimistic about content marketing. I think there are some exciting things happen that are going to demand creativity from the bright minds to solve new problems, the new way people buy and process information. I do have to mention AI. I'm so sorry. I don't want to talk about it at length, but
No.
marketers need to be learning about AI and understanding the tools and understanding how they can increase their productivity. There is so much it can do for you that enhances your work, speeds it up, helps with personalization. We can't ignore it. That's my advice to everybody who's listening is don't keep
Yes,
your head in the sand there. But it's a super exciting time to be a content marketer because of the constant change and different ways to
yeah,
approach things. Um, So I'm enjoying it. I'm loving this time period. But I've loved it all along. There's always change and always new things to try, and that's what's exciting about it is that it's experimental. Smart people have
Yeah.
smart recommendations, but ultimately it's experimental, what your audience likes and doesn't like.
Yes, it's evolving all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, all the time.
And we have to transform also ourselves, our minds, to be more open and keep
Mhm.
updated with, as you said, all the latest trends and the AI, and embrace that, not to think like, no, I will not. No, it's part of what we are living today.
Right. But it's nothing new. Marketing 25 years ago had new trends and new approaches. This is nothing new. It's a
Mm,
continuation of an exciting field.
yes, you're right.
Mhm.
And I know that you are very attitudable because you have a positive attitude, the capacity and the ability that you've been working so many years and then you found your own business only 1 year and you are like rocketing it. I mean, you are very successful.
Yeah.
And if you can find one word or phrase that inspires you today, or a kind of mantra for 2024, like the half year that we are almost
Mhm.
arriving, what would that be?
The word that immediately came to mind is learn. Um, Learn, be curious, learn from other people, build relationships with people who share your interests, learn from books. I love podcasts. I'm endlessly listening to podcasts while I'm driving or walking. Um, Take courses, but learn. Just open your brain to learning
Amazing.
and
Yes,
learn
we
from
have
every.
to learn
Yeah, you have to learn. Mm-hmm.
till the last day of our lives.
And that's a good point. Like learning is not contained to college. I'm not a millennial. I'm Gen X, but there's still so much to learn, and you cannot stop. And you can't. You always have to see yourself as a learner. There's no reason to stop.
Exactly. And don't you think that when we are surrounded by younger people, we also learn more? It's hard, it's difficult, but sometimes it's good because they teach us in a different way or some things that perhaps we will never.
You never.
I
I
I
love
learn a lot from my children.
I know the children. Yeah, my teenager. I love the younger people that I work with. I have some really smart peers who are in their early 30s. The age
Mm,
difference doesn't matter. I enjoy speaking with them. I learn a lot from them. We treat each other like peers. Um, it's been so enriching. But no, you have got to be open to what the other generations have to teach you because there's something there. And it just makes it
exactly.
professional.
I think I missed some questions from LinkedIn, but I will answer them
Sure.
later because I cannot do it at the same time. Everything.
Yeah, no, that's
But
fine. Mhm.
yes, and I love this. This is like also like my Bible, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, that I have it also in Spanish. I don't know if this is it,
Hábitos de
something
la
that I have.
gente. Yep.
I have it in some books. I have like the this is an American author, of course. It
Mhm.
has more than 30 years of being published, but I have it in English and then in Spanish. And he says that you have to carry your own weather. I mean, so that is also a good mantra to take, that despite all the
Mhm.
panic or the differences or the something negative thoughts that surround us,
Right.
like as you said, keep a positive mind, learn, be open, be flexible, and
Mhm.
transform yourself and your business.
Yeah. I
Evolve.
I really don't meet people who aren't flexible and who aren't excited to learn. And maybe that's just the people I've surrounded myself with. But
That's
I
good.
really, yeah, exactly. I really don't meet negative people. I meet people with crazy
Mm,
opinions, but everybody's positive and learning and excited and mhm.
that's good. We
Yeah,
have to surround ourselves with that kind of people.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, Lee. And are you planning to come to Argentina because you've been to so many Latin American countries and you love to travel and you're always on the road?
It is very much on the list. I think
Mm.
next we're going to Morocco. Well, next we're going to Ireland.
Wow.
Yes.
Mm.
my older parents have invited us to take a trip, so we're going with them. And
Wow.
Argentina is on the list. My gosh, I've been to Buenos Aires, but not toured the country.
Ah, well, you have to come.
Mhm.
Well,
I
we
do.
hope that you come and visit us. Let us know. And thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for your words,
My
for
pleasure.
all the things that you share.
Mhm.
Lee has an amazing newsletter that you have to
Thank you.
subscribe to follow her on LinkedIn. And where else, Lee?
LinkedIn
Where
is
they
the
can
best place
find
to
you?
get a hold of me. So there for sure. Yeah, I'm there every day.
Yes, I know. And you share very valuable content. So let's connect. And this will also be published in the podcast,
Mhm.
the Spotify or Apple podcast here in YouTube. And we are really honored to have you today. So thanks again, Lee.
My
Hope
pleasure.
to see you in person soon.
That would be great. Yep.
Thanks
Okay.
a lot. Thanks to all of you who joined us. And if you would like to send us any questions, please reach us. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye bye, Lee. Have an excellent day.
Bye.